Welcome to Creature Guy Live. For those of you that don't know, my name is Ethan. We're going to get into some fun animal news from around the world and check out some animal videos. So, put up the first set of, actually, the first video, and then we'll head into the articles. Okay. Whoa. Okay. This is definitely different. Um, Everything appears natural. I just have never seen two bison. At least I think they're attending to this whitetail. It looks a bit injured. Or maybe he's just waking up. I'm guessing that he's shedding his velvet. This could be sometime in September, maybe. Yeah, it has to be September. Looking at the foliage around them, I'm guessing this is maybe somewhere up in Canada. Could be maybe some part of the Midwest, judging by the trees. Oh yeah, his velvet's coming off. Interesting. I've never seen female bison lick the velvet. At least I think it's coming off. Yeah, I think it's just dry. Hmm. It's obviously quite warm. He's missing a bit of fur. Yeah, I guess he was just shedding it. Even they look, the two bison look quite shed for the summer. This is quite interesting, though. I haven't seen bison make buddies with a whitetail or a mule deer, elk. It's usually quite the opposite. They must be in a very relaxing environment. Hmm. I wonder what's off with that whitetail. Oh, there's a doe. Not sure what's going on. Maybe he's just taking his time. Oh, are those sheep on the other side? Seems that way. I think those are sheep. Wait. It Oh, I thought there was a fence in between those trees. Okay, so they have a pretty large area.
Yeah, that's
There's
what I thought
another.
I was looking at
Oh,
too.
those are white tails. Wow. What? I wonder if this is definitely a rescue center. Okay, well that was quite interesting. So, heading over to the first article from petapixel.com. Trail camera captures grizzly bear in area that hasn't had confirmed sighting for 50 years. Well, I really wonder where this is going to occur. Let's see. So, well, seems to be one animal probably from the summertime. Seems to have a lot of bare areas in his fur. A trail camera
Oh,
cap.
wait, a bear with bear areas?
Okay, a bear with shed areas,
That was just funny. A
or
bear with
like he went over to a waxing treatment and he just said no.
that
Um,
bear is a little bear.
yeah, compared to Kodiaks or cave bears. Cave bears are about the size of Kodiaks, so around 13 to 1,500 pounds, or a little over 700 kilograms. So, a trail camera captured a grizzly bear walking in the Bangtail Mountains of Montana, the first official documentation of a grizzly since modern recovery efforts began 50 years ago. That's interesting that this is um, new because it's basically in the middle of different areas of southern Montana that grizzly bears have already come back to. So, it's quite interesting that this is a first for quite a while. Let's take a look. Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks confirmed the sighting after a trail camera on Custer Gallatin National Forest land captured images of a single subadult male grizzly on December 17th. Whoa, December. Okay, that's I wonder what's going on with his fur. The camera was set up by a member of the public. Fish, Wildlife, and Parks officials say the sighting is notable but not expected. The bangtails lying near areas with recent grizzly activity, including a similarly sized bear seen traveling along the Yellowstone River near Livingston in the fall. So this is approaching the border with the state of Wyoming, or the northwestern part of the state, and also adjacent to the northern part of the greater Yellowstone ecosystem. Other recent sightings in the broader region include a grizzly documented in the Shields Valley in 2023. So it's pretty common for bears to be seen late in the fall. While bear activity is much lower over the winter, there's always a chance there are a few out. Oh, yeah. I mean, there's bound to be different individuals that didn't get enough to eat during the late spring, summer, and fall months. And they're just having to put on a little more fat. So let's see. Montana Free Press notes that the bangtail sighting is part of a broader pattern of grizzlies expanding into areas of Montana where they have not been regularly documented for decades. So Benjamin Alva Polly, a columnist for Explore Big Sky, says that two main grizzly populations, the Northern Continental Divide ecosystem and the Greater Yellowstone ecosystem, are pushing to the edges of their range, and that it's a matter of time before the two populations become intertwined. Well, I think it's a matter of time before it's a consistent merging of the populations and they're connected. But I think you have it where there are a handful of individuals that are making contact with each population. So, intrepid bears, such as the one seen in the trail camera photo, have to cross the I 90, a 4-lane interstate where they must risk speeding vehicles. Some are struck and killed. I haven't heard of any being hit over on I 90 recently. That's a huge highway. I think it ranges from Washington State all the way to Illinois. Let's see. So I think it links Seattle to Chicago. Fish, Wildlife, and Parks continues to emphasize that Montana is bear country, with grizzly populations becoming denser and more widespread. The agency urges residents and recreationists to be prepared for encounters anywhere in the western two-thirds of the state. I would say from other sightings that seem to be occurring over in the eastern part of Montana, anywhere in Montana at this point, it's going to be much rarer in the eastern part of the state, but they're definitely out there. So let's head over to check out the next video. I think there's also pushing around 1,800 brown bears over in Montana alone. Let's see what's going on. Oh, so it's a black bear with her cub. Is this over in like Lake Tahoe? So over in Nevada and California? No, it's just they're up on a dock. It's quite interesting. It went up to them. I think it was assuming that there might have been some sort of land or foundation for cub to climb on. Oh, okay, so it's hitching right on its mother's back. Oh, this is I don't think it's Lake Tahoe. This over in like some part of Canada or Alaska? I know that's not specific,
Why
but
do you say that?
the vegetation around does not look like eastern Nevada or western California. Like a little too I think too much aspen in the region.
I was wondering how she was gonna get it up.
Wow. I haven't seen this before. That was pretty good. I think it's just the amount of weight and bears carrying a lot of fat, even black bears, and she just efficiently pulled herself up. She probably does it continuously. Really wonder where that occurred though. So, moving to the next article from NPR.org. A spine tingling discovery. This dinosaur has spiked body armor. Whoa. So, this does look like a member of the Ankylosauria lineage of dinosaurs, but this is more specifically a nodosaur, at least that I'm assuming. Judging by this animal also not having a club tail, so far there hasn't been a single species of nodosaur discovered with a club-like tail. And most nodosaurs just simply have spiked endings. There are certain species of Ankylosauridae that have clubs that end with somewhat spike-like structures towards the very edges.
Floppy Rabbit said, "A nososaur?"
No, well, they were very nosy. But they had no well, okay, mentioning that, nodosaurs had extremely narrow snouts compared to the ankylosaurs, which tend to have very wide front muzzles or snouts. In fact, could you look up a Euoplocephalus? So
After you spell it.
E Euoplocepha. Oh, so the animal that I'm referring to is a member of Ankylosauridae, where I'm guessing this individual. It says fossils of the creature Spicomelus revealed elaborate body armor used to attract mates and deter rivals. I believe is a member of the Nodosauridae. Okay, so this is Eupliocephalus. This one doesn't seem to have as wide of a skull structure as certain other reconstructions, but looking at the rest of the body, also seems to be missing armor in different places. Um, this one's okay. I think I prefer the skull a bit more, and maybe the club tail, but it is missing armor in different places, and also the osteoderms. This is a little too much like an ankylosaurus or a relative. Maybe it's take Takia or what's that other individual? I'm thinking of an ankylosaur from late Cretaceous Mongolia. So Euoplocephalus, however, um, existed over in Alberta around 75 million years ago. Oh yeah, I really like this representation. It might be a bit skinny though, but also the osteoderms might be a bit large compared to its body size. So maybe decrease it by half the width. Besides that, though, as you can see, this is one of the club tails where it ends in a third osteoderm, but you would have had certain chylosaurs might have had two spikes on each side, almost like certain species of sauropods, like the saltosaurs. A bit different though; it's more of just like a spiked club-like tail ending, and it's quite interesting that those specific medium-sized species of sauropod and the ankylosauromorphs evolved this type of a trait. And I believe these are smaller species of Pachycephalosaur. It's not a Stegosaurus.
That is a Packy?
Yeah, it's not a Dracorex. It's another species of smaller Pachycephalosaur. They were quite numerous during the late Cretaceous, especially around 75 million years ago in the late Campanian. But it's not hitting me what this small species is. So Euoplocephalus could reach somewhere around probably 25 feet in length or pushing 8 meters and weighing up to 3 to 3.5 tons. And this animal had to deal with different species of tyrannosaur at the time in Canada, such as Albertosaurus. And we're referring to, another tyrannosaur. It's probably around 9 to 11 feet in height, or pushing a little over 3 meters. So this animal also was an herbivore, unlike the pachycephalosaurs. These guys were actually carnivores, but they were probably, for the most part, munching on different types of insects and maybe small amphibians and reptiles. Euoplocephalus was probably having to take in over at least 200 pounds of food a day, or a little over 95 kilograms, and feeding on different species of certain ferns, but there was a difference in diet between Ankylosauridae and Nodosauridae, or the ankylosaurs and the nodosaurs. So I believe the ankylosaurs were much well adapted for chewing much harder plant material compared to the
Be
nodosaurs.
much better adapted?
What did I say?
I don't remember, but it sounded funny.
Yeah, its teeth were much better adapted for chewing harder plant material. The nodosaurs, however, were not. They had to feed on much softer plant materials. They're probably going after certain species of flowers, maybe even different species of mosses in the region, and possibly even fungi. There's probably something else. If I didn't already mention certain types of ferns, maybe types of horsetails, but those are ferns. It's not hitting me. So let's take a look. A dinosaur that roamed modern day Morocco more than 165 million years ago had a neck covered in 3 foot long spikes, a weapon on its tail, and bony armor, according to researchers who unearthed the curious beast's remains. Wow. Okay, so this is during the early stages of the ankylosaur lineage. Um, this is quite astonishing. This is extremely rare to find from the Jurassic. These types of nodosaurs are known from, or with this type of an appendage when it comes to their osteoderm, especially this. I haven't seen this on any type of nodosaur. Um, this is quite remarkable for the mid Jurassic. This is also before animals such as Brachiosaurus, Allosaurus, and this is also from northern Africa, Northwest Africa specifically. And Jurassic dinosaurs are not usually talked about from this part of the world at that time. Usually, you have to travel to the Middle Cretaceous, right at the beginning
Wait,
of
is
the.
that because we don't have them?
Yep, there are very few. Really, it's about 110 to 115 million years ago during the early Cretaceous do you start is dinosaur life from North Africa talked about. It's almost unheard of when it comes to the mid Jurassic. So the discovery of the animal Spicomelis in the Moroccan town of Bulaman painted a clearer picture of the bizarre spiked ankylosaur, which was first described in 2021 based on the discovery of a single rib bone. Well, I know it's abbreviating ankylosaur, but it's probably referring to just simply the large family consisting of the nodosaurs and nodosauridae and ankylosauridae and Ankylosauromorpha. Now, technically, these animals, along with the stegosaurs, first evolved at the beginning of the Jurassic around 200 million years ago, and they are a part of a lineage of dinosaurs called the Eurytherians. So, researchers now understand that the four-legged herbivore which was about the size of a small car. Whoa! For an ankylosauromorph back then, that's huge, or even a
Really? A
nodosaur.
small car?
Yeah, I mean, during the mid Jurassic, we were seeing let's see, maybe the size of certain, maybe a wild boar, maybe 2 to 300 pounds. They could get larger, but or a little over 100 or 150 kilograms. Was much more elaborately armored than originally believed, according to research published last month in the journal Nature. However, I mean, what's the definition of a small car? Are we talking about that car Russell Crowe drove in a good year? Or are we
That's
talking
what I
about
was thinking was something.
still, that's immense for, um, this type of an animal at that time. Spicomelis had a diversity of plates and spikes extending from all over its body, including meter-long neck spikes, so about 3.3 feet. Jeez! What occurred during this time? Huge upwards projecting spikes over the hips and a whole range of long blade-like spikes, pieces of armor made up of two long spikes and plates down the shoulder. We've never seen anything like this in any animal before. That this is almost unheard of, also relative to its body size for ankylosaurs from the Cretaceous. So let's see. The Spicomelis ribs were lined with fused spikes projecting outward, a feature never witnessed before in any other vertebrate, living or extinct. Co-lead of the project, Richard Butler, a paleobiology professor at the University of Birmingham, described seeing the fossil for the first time as spine tingling. It's a anatomy, you could say paleo joke. I think everybody can get it. We just couldn't believe how weird it was and how unlike any other dinosaur or indeed any other animal we know of alive or extinct. It turns much of what we thought we knew about ankylosaurs and their evolution on its head and demonstrates just how much there still is to learn about dinosaurs. I was really expecting this animal to maybe be early Cretaceous, or possibly the late part, so after 145 million years ago. But I was still thinking 110 million years ago, maybe.
I still can't
100.
get past the fact that you can catch a dinosaur joke and miss other jokes.
Um, yeah, it happens. Researchers suggest that the Spicomelis complex bone structure was used both to attract mates and deter rivals. Yeah, and this is definitely it's probably the case with certain other species of nodosaurs or even ankylosaurs with larger spikes, but probably more with the nodosaurs. Certain ankylosaurs, even like ankylosaurus itself, I really do wonder how they would have um, attracted mates or even intimidated other rivals. Would they have simply attacked each other? I'm trying to think of how that would have occurred. So research suggests that discovering that the dinosaur had such elaborate armor that possibly prioritized form as much as function set the animal apart from its predecessors, which had less, more defensive covering on their bodies. In addition to showy barbs along Spicomelis' interior, remains of the animal's tail also provided a stunning new detail for scientists. Fused vertebrae going down into its tail formed a handle, likely leading to a club like weapon at the end. Well, it doesn't look like that. It looks, no, that's fully spiked. Not sure where they're getting a club like ending from. A detail ankylosaur scientists had previously believed not to have evolved until the Cretaceous period, millions of years later. Unless somebody depicted the animal wrong in the picture, um, they probably did evolve until the Cretaceous. Let's see anything else. Find such elaborate armor in an early ankylosaur changes our understanding of how these dinosaurs evolved. It shows just how significant African dinosaurs are and how important it is to improve our understanding of them. I think it's also shocking to see that it occurred over in North Africa as well and not North America, Asia. So this is quite astonishing. So I guess we can check out the next video.
Oh.
Oh no. What's going on here? I wonder where this is occurring. Maybe some part of South Africa? Maybe Mozambique? It is interesting. It's like sometimes the lions are testing the rhinos or the rhinos are testing them. Seems to be a younger male lion with female. I'm guessing he's probably a male that's about to be forced out of the pride. Yeah, it just seemed to be playing with them. Okay, here comes probably the father. That younger male is kind of nuts. The female's like, "Oh, great, we're being filmed now." Male's like, "Yeah, it's part of our job." I'm just walking towards the camera, so I.
That guy looks kinda tasty.
Oh, is that it? Oh,
Okay, I did this because I thought it was really funny.
something about that giraffe looked off. Is that a baboon? No, fake. That doesn't happen. And also the way the lion just froze and the giraffe didn't move at all. Okay.
Well, it did a good job of shadowing.
Okay. Over to the next article from newsbreak.com. Maine has seen deer strikes increase while moose crashes have declined. That's interesting. Um, I'm concerned in both areas. Maine, which sees thousands of vehicle crashes a year involving deer, moose, and bears, embracing a new method to help prevent them from happening. Over the past 4 years, the number of deer strikes reported on Maine roadways has topped 6,000 annually. Deer strikes have been on the rise over the past 2 decades, data from the Maine Department of Transportation show. Okay, so 4 years there have been 6,000 deer strikes in Maine annually.
That's gotta be horrible for car insurance.
Well, that and I don't know precisely the amount of white-tailed deer over in Maine. I'm going to guess at least 300,000, which for the size of Maine, that's quite a few.
Wait a minute, how many are in Texas?
Well, Texas is 5 million, Florida is 1 million, um, and then all of the other states pretty much might reach 1 million when it comes to the eastern states. Unless you're talking about Michigan, there might be a bit more. But let's see. Moose strikes, which are around 13% more deadly than deer collisions. That's it. I mean, I'm just surprised. Have decreased over the past 2 decades. In 2024, there were 217 reported moose collisions compared with 699 reported for the year of 2004. Well, yeah, it's good to hear, but is it because there are less moose? That's a bit of a question.
Or is it that the moose are just smarter and stay out of the road?
It could be. Moose are very intelligent. And yeah, certainly seems in cases more than the whitetails. See the data on large animal strikes in Maine with chart below. Okay, let's see. Hmm.
Oh,
So that is somewhat interesting. Oh, this is all specifically moose. Yeah, that's good to see. It's a major decline. Oh, that's it. What? Well, we don't know why. So that's interesting. So I guess let's take a look at the next video. Oh, we're over in what, Eastern Russia? Here's an Amur tiger cub, I think. He looks quite fluffy. So it could be a yearling.
So he's just hanging out in front of a trail cam.
Yep. Oh, decided to rest.
Na, na. Look at me. Aren't I cute?
I think he noticed.
Please.
Yeah, they can notice the trail cameras on the trees.
And over. Yeah, I think it's trying to make its own video.
Okay, so from CBSNews.com, dinosaur tracks showing herds moving in synchrony found in Italian region that will host Winter Olympics. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Hundreds of yards of dinosaur tracks with toes and claws have been found in the Italian Alps in a region that will host the 2026 Winter Olympics. This set of dinosaur footprints is one of the largest collections in all of Europe, in the whole world. Let's see. The tracks, which are over 200 million years old, so this is at the beginning of the Jurassic, were discovered in the Stelvio National Park in an area between the towns of Bormio and Livigno, which host part of the games. Nature photographer Elio della Ferrara first spotted the imprints in September in an almost vertical rocky slope. Some measured up to 16 inches in diameter, or around what, 40 centimeters? So, well, in diameter and also for the early Jurassic, that's huge. This is before different species of true sauropod. So you have different types of sauropodomorph or prosauropod this time, many of them being bipedal, and certain earlier, larger species of coelophysid, or maybe even early relatives of the Dilophosaurs or Cryolophosaurus. Well, Cryolophosaurus belongs to another lineage of Neotheropoda. Actually, could you look up Cryolophosaurus?
I thought you were gonna say Neotheropoda. I'm like,
That's a large collection of dinosaurs. So,
wait,
Cryolopho.
CRY.
Oh, Olophosaurus. So the collection extends for hundreds of meters or over 1,000 feet and also represents a series of animal behaviors because, in addition to seeing animals walking together, there are also places where these animals meet. Della Ferrara called in paleontologist Cristiano Dal Sasso from Milan's Natural History Museum, who assembled a team of Italian experts to study the site. Well, this is definitely an older reconstruction. This could be from like the 70s or, well, I don't know. I mean, maybe even the 1980s or 90s, but I'd say the Cryolophosaurus on the right looks a lot better. It still would have had a more, yeah, sort of elongated, leaner sort of a look. This is a better comparison. Oh, so this was 2006. This is a pretty good depiction. It's possible that Cryolophosaurus might have had feathers, but so far just isn't any evidence for it. When it comes to Cryolophosaurus, this animal inhabited Antarctica around 189 million years ago during the first 12 million years of the Jurassic.
Yeah, this picture's actually kinda small.
Oh, yeah, I remember this one. Used to be like, or is the front cover of some book. I think it's also like maybe 90s or early 2000s. But Cryolophosaurus was somewhere around 22 feet in length or pushing 7 meters and probably weighed somewhere around 1,800 pounds or a little over 850 kilograms. Yes, another was maybe Jurassic World Evolution or something. It's a bit odd. Maybe there were certain subspecies. If there were different subspecies of Cryolophosaurus, it might have had different crust structures. The problem is this individual has too broad of a jaw structure. It should be much more thin, narrow, but also when it comes to the teeth, they're a bit off. They should also be a bit thinner, at least in my opinion. The neck structure of Cryolophosaurus is not going to be too robust. Oh, this is over from Dinosaur Revolution back in 2013. I think these individuals were lacking a bit of muscle, but maybe I think this was the larger Cryolophosaurus individual. Let's see. They were probably or likely feeding on different species of sauropodomorph at the time, maybe going after any um, large amphibians in the area, as well as feeding on smaller pterosaurs occasionally, because pterosaurs at this point were quite small. I'm referring to, for the most part, 4 foot wingspan. That would be an immense individual, or a little over like 1.2 meters.
So you said this guy's just too thick.
Yeah, overall, even his feet, the only thing that seems okay is his neck. But outside of that, maybe actually his arms aren't that bad.
He looks kinda like a dog laying down with his legs crossed over.
Yeah, actually, I mean, dinosaurs, even theropods, could certainly have laid in this way. Though the way he's twisting himself, I don't think that would be that healthy. He can sit on his pelvis bone or just lay on his side, but that seems like an uncomfortable position.
Mhm.
Oh, right. No, no, the next one. Wait, no, next one. There we go. So let's see what they found. The museum released multiple images of the footprints uncovered in the so called Valley of Dinosaurs on social media. It's an immense scientific heritage, Del Sasso said in the region's press release. Oh, so here are all the footprints. Wow.
Oh my god,
And
they're everywhere.
that's a person. That's immense. It just looks like a little bit of a slab of wall or sediment.
I thought it was a wall.
Those are large footprints. These must have been massive sauropodomorphs in the region. Can't think of anything else that would have created that type of a footprint structure. And they were obviously roaming in herds too. So footprints tens of meters long are clearly visible on several surfaces. At the Caim de Plater site, the fossilized footprints are imprinted with considerable depth, indicating that the dinosaurs walked on calcareous mud made very pliable by the abundant presence of water. Yeah, I was also guessing that they were probably coming to a watering hole. The parallel walks are clear evidence of herds moving in synchrony, and there are also traces of more complex behaviors, such as groups of animals gathered in a circle, perhaps for defense. The tracks currently covered by snow and off the beaten track are preserved in Upper Triassic dolomitic rocks, dating back approximately 210 million years. That's interesting. Thought it said the title was 200 million years old, and this is saying during the late Triassic period. So this is also shortly after animals like Coelophysis went extinct over in North America.
Sometimes I forget when the difference in 10,000,000 years when you're talking, it changes everything.
Oh yeah, yeah, that has a huge impact on what animals are roaming the landscape, the different types of ecosystems, and also the marine life. But when it comes to European dinosaurs, they're not usually talked about when it comes to the Triassic. Occasionally, maybe you have certain sauropodomorphs or different species of pterosaurs, maybe even early species of mammals. But in the case of carnivores, not so much. Now, let's see. Africa, South America, and North America tend to host a lot more different species. And now you are also referring to a larger land masses as well, but also simply just due to the different time zones that are present within Europe. They're only common in certain regions, especially different parts of southern and central Europe. So let's see. Well, I believe there are also certain earlier layers over in the British Isles as well. So Ireland, Scotland, England. Let's see. Most of the footprints are elongated, made by bipeds. The best preserved ones bear traces of at least four toes. That suggests they belong to prosauropods, herbivorous dinosaurs with long necks and small heads, which are considered the ancestors of the large sauropods of the Jurassic period, like the Brontosaurus. Prosauropods had sharp claws, and adults could reach up to 33 feet in length. Actually, they could become a bit larger, maybe pushing somewhere between 35 to 40 feet or 11 to 12 meters, probably weighing more than 7 or 8 tons. So these were like the largest sauropodomorphs to exist, and they were mostly bipedal as well. Now, let's see. There may also be tracks of predatory dinosaurs and archosaurs, the ancestors of crocodiles. Well, ar- archosaurs or archosauromorphs diverged into the dinosaurs, crocodilomorphs, including today's crocodilians, alligators. Let's see who else. The pterosaurs. So there are a wide range. It basically, I guess the archosaur in this stance is being misused. So yeah, this is a group of sauropodomorphs, kind of like animals such as Plateosaurus, which was a bit smaller, could reach somewhere between 20 26 feet in length, or pushing anywhere between 6 to 8 meters. and probably weighed up to 4 tons. So let's see. Yeah, it was definitely a large herd that was occurring here. So paleo artistic reconstruction of what the environment might have looked like approximately 210 million years ago, as preserved in the rocks of the Fraile Valley in Stelvio National Park.
I wanted people to be able to see it.
So let's see. Along the shore of the Tethys Sea or Tethys Ocean, a herd of prosauropod dinosaurs walks across an extensive muddy carbonate plain during low tide. The herd includes young individuals as indicated by some smaller fossil footprints. Males and females are depicted here with different coloration. The prints are on an almost vertical slope to the formation of the alpine chain, but when the dinosaurs walked through the area, it was formed of tidal flats that stretched for hundreds of miles and the environment was tropical. The tracks were made when the sediment was still soft and saturated with water on the broad tidal flats surrounding the Tethys Ocean. The plasticity of those very fine calcareous muds now transformed into rock has in areas preserved truly remarkable anatomical details, such as impressions of the toes and even the claws. The footprints were then covered by sediments which protected them, but with the uplift of the Alps and the erosion of the mountainside, they have been brought back into view. So, as the layers containing the tracks are diverse and overlapping, we have a unique opportunity to study the evolution of animals and their environment over time. Let's see. Anything else?
What was that?
No, it's just mentioning different things occurring, like in other areas, not specifically this find. I think that's it. That was really good to see. It's too bad there wasn't a closer picture of what the footprints looked like. So, it's good to see that sauropodomorphs looks like we're pretty common over in Italy. Oh, yeah, I remember this. This is Mother Rhino protecting her calf from this stubborn bull elephant. Or, well, actually, I think there were two or three.
And how well would that work out for her?
Yeah, this is the mother should have just taken her calf away. There's no point in fighting an elephant. She can't. It's not even trying very hard when pushing her.
I like how it's just leaving the baby alone, though.
Yeah, this is pointless. Unless she hasn't, I'm guessing maybe she's dehydrated. It does seem to be the dry season. There isn't any food around outside of um
Well,
the
she is
elephants maybe
giving us a bunch
munching
of
on
poop.
yeah, outside of the elephants munching on some wood.
Good. Good.
Yeah, she's freaking out. This just shows her it's just all the adrenaline. Her body isn't just the flight response and releasing everything real quick. And the calf though is a bit okay, he's even more nuts. He decided to I mean, I understand his bravery and he's trying to help, but that's
Yeah, and the elephant's leaving it alone.
yeah, this is one of those friendly elephants. Well, somewhat. Just usually they're stabbing the rhinos. So, okay, from BBC.com. Puffins struggle to survive as Storm Chandra sweeps country. Oh, right. Yeah, there's been massive flooding in the area. Just like Italy's been receiving a ton of flooding too. And then over in South
What?
Africa.
What?
Huh? That's new.
What?
Well, that's
Sorry.
unfortunate. Okay. Check out what's going on here. Seemed to be a goat, and I think that's a pig. Oh no,
I'm gonna smack your butt. And boom.
the pig doesn't even move. Oh,
What?
no, it does.
Stop it. Stop. Boom. Up. Up. What? Grr.
I just want someone to play with.
Well, stop smacking me. And I keep waiting for it to do it again. Nope.
That's funny. Okay, so from news.mongabay.com, study delves into increase in humpback whale sightings in UK and Ireland. So earlier this year, UK media reported an increase in humpback whale sightings in British and Irish waters. Between December 2024 and January, The Guardian reported some 17 sightings of humpback whales, Megaptera navangulaya, from the Isles of Scilly in southwest England. Meanwhile, the nonprofit Sussex Dolphin Project reported more than 50 sightings from Sussex in southeast England during the 2024 to 2025's winter season. So I guess that's quite a bit.
I posted up, "Is everybody awake?" And a cheetah bear, like 15 minutes later, goes, "I'm awake and enjoying."
Yeah, I'm glad because usually you're asleep on the turkey. So, Thea Taylor, managing director at the Sussex Dolphin Project, told the BBC they're not entirely certain where the whales are coming.
On the turkey.
That's all I could think of. Maybe sleep on the pork. I'm not sure. But they believe the humpbacks that pass through the eastern English Channel are coming from the feeding grounds of the Arctic Circle and traveling south to warmer waters often used for breeding grounds. They would usually travel along the west coast of the UK. We do not currently know what caused them to travel down the east coast. So, let's see. Hmm. Marine biologist Gemma Halstead with the University of Exeter told Mongabe by email, I believe there's enough evidence to show that humpback whale visits to the UK and Ireland have increased over the past 20 years. I think this is a good thing. A 2019 study reported increased sightings of humpback whales in Scotland during the winters of 2017 and 2018. Many humpback populations appear to be recovering after a ban on commercial whaling in 1986. But one reason for the recent increase in sightings along the UK coasts could be prey availability. Where the fish go, the whales tend to follow. Humpback whales feed on small schooling fish, which are commonly found along UK and Irish coastlines. Yeah, it is quite interesting when it comes to humpback whale feeding behavior, even other species of baleen toothed whales. So the distinct filter like teeth, keratin filter like teeth that they have. And many tend to associate with just simply different species of krill that they're feeding on. When you actually have it where they're feeding on not just different species of krill, but even different species of fish as well. And let's see. Um, doo-doo-doo. These waters also offer ideal habitat conditions, especially around the continental shelf edges. We're also positioned along the natural migration route that humpbacks use to travel between their breeding and feeding grounds, making these waters a convenient stopover. Additionally, there's growing public awareness about the whales and better ways to report sightings. This is something we're mindful of when interpreting the data. Halstead said it's especially encouraging to see the increase in humpback observations from those who regularly spend time on the water. Marine wildlife tour guides, researchers, and other regular seafarers have shared that they are encountering humpbacks more often in their regions. Their local knowledge provides vital context and helps strengthen the patterns we're seeing in the reported sightings data. So yeah, that's really good to see. I mean, we're obviously getting in a lot of sightings from humpbacks in these different parts of the British Isles. Let's see. Halstead is leading a research project with the University of Exeter to understand the presence of humpback whales in UK and Irish waters by combining sightings data from the public, wildlife enthusiasts, and organizations. What is interesting is that they're not mentioning any issues with the orcas or orcas preying on the humpbacks in these areas. So I'm wondering if this specific area, wherever they're showing up in the British Isles, because um, these areas aren't necessarily tiny, maybe there just aren't any orcas or there are few within the region. As awareness and sightings grow, so does our opportunity to learn. Halstead said that by reporting sightings through platforms like Happy Whale, people can contribute valuable data that helps build a clearer picture of this wonderful species movement and presence around the UK and Ireland.
Sure it's not a career?
Um, well, I actually thought it was for a split second, and because it's well is okay. So it's good to see. Though I am wondering about those orcas. There's a few other actually. There's quite a few marine animals I'm wondering about now and their condition over there. So let's head to the next video. Whoa, where's this occurring?
Did it say?
Wait,
Let's see.
is this that place over in either not San Diego but Disney, like Animal World or
I have
something,
no
Wild
idea.
Kingdom? So her
I don't know. That's a huge open area.
calf fell in the water. Oh no no no! Come on come on, pull him out.
Come on, kid, help. Uh,
He's out.
I don't know. Somebody. No, it
I
says the Daily Mail.
hmm. Yeah, I really wonder. That's a pretty young calf too. Maybe only a couple of weeks at most. So let's see. From MSN.com, Idaho Fish and Game track mule deer in South Hills.
Picked a lot of deer, didn't I?
Yeah, well, it's good to check up on, especially the mule deer. A
By the
lot of
way,
whitetails too.
you didn't send me anymore.
Yeah, there were plenty of other.
Only 10 that you sent.
Yeah, but there was an extra from before. Okay. From South Hills, Idaho, Idaho Department of Fish and Game is working this winter to track the mule deer population in the South Hills. Earlier in the week, a crew took a helicopter to the hills to capture and collar 30 fawns. They did this to collect survival and migration information about the herd. That's an interesting number. So they collared about 30. Wildlife biologist says there has been a documented decline in the mule deer population in the South Hills due to a loss of habitat from wildfires as an increase in motorized roads and trails near the area. Let's see. The department has been working to restore the habitat and partnering with the Forest Service to manage motorized traffic. That is one reason the BLM's annual seasonal motorized travel closure in the South Hills is in effect through March 15th. We manage animals in the state of Idaho for the benefit of the citizens in the state of Idaho. And it's an important mule deer herd, and they want us to better manage it. And they like to have a high population of animals for viewing and hunting.
Oh, that was funny. We manage animals in the state of Idaho for the benefit of the citizens in the state of Idaho.
Yeah, it was quite redundant. Fishing Game says it is important for the fawns to have a safe and secure place so they are not stressed and can survive the winter. I'm not sure. I don't believe I heard of any fires last year supposedly in Idaho, but maybe I'm thinking of certain regions that it didn't occur and it did years before. Okay, well that's it with that. Let's head over to next one. Mm, um, huh. Well, I'm not sure where
Is
this
that
is.
even possible?
Okay, now I'm suspicious.
That the shake makes me think it's real. Uh, and someone's using a phone, which makes me wonder if they're live streaming.
Yeah, this Eurasian lynx, I'm not sure, but the bulldog being there, I really wonder.
That's yeah. The
He's not
dogs.
collared. Wait a second. He's not collared. If this is over in Europe, you have to have your dog collared and leashed.
Well, in the forest,
Yeah, I think anywhere. Um yeah, there's something off about that.
first person responds AI.
It's like a wild one you're not going to see.
I didn't read it when I picked it. I just thought it looked interesting from the front.
From phys.org, the first head-butting Peruvian. So this is referring to a bird. Bird-like dinosaur likely used thick skull to win over mates. Well, okay, you have different types of theropod that are included within the Peruvian lineage of dinosaurs. So let's see. Yeah, it's a distant relative of the troodontids or the velociraptors, probably closer to the troodontid. I do not know what exactly this is. So is this maybe some part of California or Mexico? Yep, it's over in Koala, Mexico. Let's see. Whether it's digging up weathered bones from a paleontological site or re-examining forgotten trays in museum and university collections, the study of dinosaurs still throws up something new. The latest dinosaur discovery, unveiled by an international team of researchers from Mexico and the UK, is a new species called Xenovenator epinos epinosi. Um, think we it was over in another we did an article over this same species, but this is just I think it was over on Sign News and phys.org. Maybe they have something else. So from Xenovator epos S. spinosi, member of the Troodontid family, it lived about 73 million years ago in what is now Koala, Mexico, and was different from its bird-like cousins in striking ways. Instead of a typical sleek, thin skull, it has a thickened, domed head, which researchers believed was used for sexual selection, specifically headbutting rivals to compete for mates. Yeah, I think I remember. Yeah, this was the extremely odd one. A Troodontid with a robust or a skull robust enough to use their heads like bighorn sheep. It's just odd considering troodontids are seen as quite delicate when it comes to the skull shape. Parts, at least when it comes to biting. Parts of the skulls of three different specimens were found more than 20 years ago. It was only because scientists recently noticed a similar unusual thickening across all three that they decided to conduct a CT analysis of the most complete brain case. The scans revealed the bones were fused together in an interlocking, zigzagging pattern. They were also extremely thick, up to 12 millimeters, 1.2 centimeters, I don't know, half an inch, and had a spongy internal architecture. The skull also had a rough, gnarled surface, which may have supported a keratinous covering to help cushion the skull. So I'm guessing, oh, okay, so it's over in the Cerro del Pueblo formation. So you have different species of the Saurolophid lineage of dinosaurs being discovered here, different species of ceratopsians, especially the centrosaurs, and probably a certain species of Chasmosaur. So that's the family of not centrosaur, ceratopsians, in which Triceratops belongs to. And the centrosaurs are is the branch of ceratopsians that um, ceratopsians such as Centrosaurus belongs to. And species of Tyrannosaur seems like I'm unfamiliar with. A Labocania aguilona, and then there's the Xenovenator. That's not a small species of troodontid either, at least compared with the other dinosaurs, though. I wonder if the ceratopsians in this case might be a bit undersized because that is huge when comparing a troodontid to a ceratopsian. And even the ceratopsians seem a bit small up against the hadrosaurs, despite these hadrosaurs being quite large. You have Koalasaurus velafrons, which is I guess looks somewhat like a Hypacrosaurus, which is another close relative in the hadrosaur lineage, and the Velafrons, which I believe is a relative of the Parasaurolophus and the Tyrannosaurus, and then the Tletolophus. Oh, wait a second. No, no, the Velafron's a Hypacrosaur. The Velafron is the Parasaurolophus relative, then the Laterinus is the Corythosaurus relative. So, yeah, these individuals, I mean, they're all reaching at least 30 feet in length. They're pushing 9 meters and can weigh more than 5 tons. The Chasmosaur, this looks like a Nosoceratops. And then the Tyrannosaur looks a bit like I guess, a younger Albertosaurus to an extent. Somewhat, maybe even a Gorgosaur. So, why the thickened domed head? The purpose, according to the team, wasn't for fighting, but for finding members of its own species. The reasons they gave are that the armor is only concentrated at the top of the head, which is ideal for ramming. It's not lower down, protecting the neck or sides from predator bites. The researchers also note that this type of heavy reinforcement is typically seen in animals that compete for mates or territory, such as bighorn sheep and deer. By slamming their heads together, they could show their strength and settle disputes without fatally wounding the other combatant. I was thinking winning like a mate. Um, well, certain times of the year you have, especially during the rut and a bit later on, deer can still use their antlers for defense, and then eventually it falls off. Now, bighorn sheep, they never lose their horns, so they can use them as a weapon year round. So I would also think that these not pachycephalosaurs, that's what pachycephalosaurs are known for, such as Pachycephalosaurus, but this troodontid Xenovenator could have used its head for battling or ramming into smaller species of dinosaurs if it needed to, but probably not any larger ones. It wouldn't help against an angry herbivore or even the larger predators in the region, like the medium-sized Tyrannosaur. Let's see. As the scientists stated in their paper, the doming of the skull in Xenovenator was an adaptation for interspecific combat. If so, it is the first known example of modification of the skull for interspecific combat in a Paravian. While the thickened head is unique among troodontids, the researchers identified Xenovenator as a member of the group because the rest of its skull and ear structures match those of its relatives. I
Akita
wonder.
Bear said that it lost complete connection with the show.
Oh,
Then it came back.
oh, that's odd. This is quite odd that what is it? Oh, well, it's just unfortunate they're not showing us the skeleton or at least the bits of the skull that they discovered. I would assume it's a decent amount considering we know that this animal had armor and it has enough distinguishment in what they discovered to classify it as a Troodon. So let's see. Zelvinator was not alone with this kind of headgear. During the late Cretaceous period, several dinosaur lineages evolved thickened skulls. Sexual selection, including adaptations for display and combat, was a widespread phenomenon in late Cretaceous dinosaurs. Well, I mean, if you're throwing in headgear as a whole, even certain species, certain types of predators might have had somewhat headgear. It's been debated among tyrannosaurs if they could have possibly used their heads for headbutting, considering how robust their overall skulls were. Then you're looking at the different species of ceratopsians, which not so much the earlier species, but once you head into the mid Cretaceous period and you bump into a wide range of different species of ceratopsian that could have used their heads for defense, and then into the late Cretaceous. It doesn't look like with different species of hadrosaurs, not really any different species of iguanodontids, and chylosaurs recovered in headgear. They may not have necessarily rammed into anything, but certainly could have provided a lot of defense. Even certain species of nodosaurs. The sauropods, it doesn't seem that they really had any sort of armor. Who else? I mentioned the sauropods. It's not really the stegosaurs. They seem to have had maybe there was some sort of a osteoderm pattern on their skull that could have provided some sort of defense, but nowhere to the extent of like different ankylosauromorphs. So the discovery is further evidence that during this time, evolutionary changes were being heavily driven by social behavior and reproductive competition rather than just basic survival. That is basic survival. Part of it is literally well, actually, that's probably the most important part is the reproduction. And then it's the food and guessing just access to territory or maybe having the territory and then access to the food because without that consistent territory you're going to have a very hard time having the food. So, um being able to obtain it. See you the next video. Hmm. This may be somewhere over in Western Africa or some part of the Congo. Maybe this is an Eastern lowland gorilla. So I'm guessing somebody threw him bits
Looks
of
like
what
lettuce or
lettuce.
something.
And you have it where different rangers that have known the gorillas for years will just come over and throw certain bits of fresh bits of vegetation for them.
A piece falls out of his mouth and he looks down.
Maybe a lot of
That's why
times.
I don't think this is AI.
Yeah, it seems pretty authentic. Also because this does occur.
Watch this. Watch. Hold on. See?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't think he's a Western lowland gorilla because Western lowland gorillas have extremely large heads, and that one didn't seem to. And certain gorilla also subspecies, unless I'm confusing with certain subspecies, but Certain other types of gorilla have much smaller heads compared to their body size, and I'm not referring to the females. The females are tiny in comparison to the males. They also have much less muscle and definitely a smaller stomach too. Oh, also, yeah, that's why gorillas have this very wide stomach is because of all the microbes used to digest the plant material that they're intaking.
Yeah, for a second, I was wondering why they look so puffy, and I forgot that you said that.
Yeah, they're not necessarily fat. Certain captive orangutan individuals, it does appear that they are somewhat fat, but they can also have quite a bit of a wide stomach as well. Now, when it comes to what is it? It's not hitting me. Okay, let's move forward from phys.org. Snakes on trains. King cobras are hopping railways to unsuitable habitats in India.
This just sounded funny, that's why I picked it.
Um, yeah, it's quite interesting. I don't think this is necessarily surprising, since a lot of it seems like every animal in India can just get into the house, in a vehicle, smushing the vehicle on a train. Let's see what's going on here. So, king cobras are the world's longest venomous snakes. So, imagine seeing one a few feet away as you embark on a train in India. The Western Ghats king cobra, Ophiophagus kalinga, a vulnerable king cobra species found in India's Western Ghats, has reportedly been caught aboard many trains in the Goa region of India. New study published in Biotropica takes a closer look at these reports, where these snakes end up, and whether this strange mode of animal migration is putting snakes into unsuitable habitats. That's funny.
I just couldn't help but think of snakes on a plane.
Um, well, also, the whole much of India is the native range of the Western king cobra. So, um, it's technically, in my opinion, I think it's going to be okay. So let's see. To learn more about the geographical spread of the Western Ghats king cobra, the researchers compiled 22 years worth of king cobra rescue records and verified local reports. Spanning from 2002 to 2024, they found 47 georeference localities for O Kalinga in Goa. So they found 47 um, places where they popped up in Goa, with 18 in North Goa and 29 in South Goa. I'm guessing this is a state over in India.
I don't know, but let's go. You just looked at me like, "Shut up."
Out of these, 5 king cobra records were found near busy railway corridors. Informal questioning also revealed that local residents reported king cobra encounters in the village and forested areas, but no such reports came from agricultural plots or paddy fields. That's interesting. I guess it really does show that the king cobras prefer much drier areas, and they're not hanging out in these different wetter fields. In 2017, study author Dinkash Parmar was volunteering with a local animal rescue group that received a call about a snake on board a train. The incident is now included as part of this study. Another train rescue occurred in 2019, which ended up in a newspaper report in Uttarakhand. An incident occurred in 2023 in which a snake catcher from Gujarat state snapped a picture of an Indian cobra sitting in a train window. The study team writes, with the increased global availability of low cost smartphones and social media in recent years, the number of reports of snakes on and around trains in India has increased, with 3 incidents recorded in a 30-day period and many more emerging on social media. I don't know. I was expecting more incidents over on the train, but it is saying within 30 days, though it just seems anything can get on the trains and just how, well, maybe not. They are pretty crowded. They also note that a combination of prey in the form of other snakes and rodents and shelter might lure a king cobra to enter a goods train at a location near their normal habitat. Um, okay, this is starting to become very. Uh, I'm not sure what the term is, but gross. The reports of snakes on trains or near railway infrastructure indicated to the team that snakes may actually be transported to new, potentially unsuitable habitats this way. The team used species distribution modeling with climate, vegetation, and human footprint data to model the potential suitable distribution of the species in Goa. They then compared predicted suitable habitats with actual rescue locations, focusing on outliers near railways to better understand how human infrastructure may influence the species distribution. Wow, there's definitely a lot going on here with how they're tracking the snakes, but definitely it sounds like there's apparently a bunch of prey on the trains that the snakes are going after. That's terrifying. The results show that the Western Ghats king cobra is most likely to be found in the interior part of Goa, away from coastal zones, predominantly in forested areas and near rivers and streams. So let's see. Yeah. However, statistical analysis showed that the railway sites where king cobras were found were significantly less suitable for the species than their natural habitats. These, um, well, I would expect this considering the area around it is probably going to be quite rocky and not a lot of cover from vegetation, so also quite urban, I would assume, unless it's maybe cutting through a national park. So let's see. These areas were typically drier with less prey availability and vegetation for cover. Yeah, I guess I was thinking or confusing it with a different species of cobra because there's just not one specific species. Um, these animals, well, especially this species, does prefer to be around like different tall vegetation. Also, during the wet season, can probably benefit it in certain instances as long as there's not a lot of flooding. And it's just easier to sneak up on like different rodents in the area, maybe other species of snake. So let's see. The researchers say these snakes are accidentally moving to less suitable habitats and apparently doing so by train. Well, we just need Ricky Ticky to help out. Our findings suggest a different, more passive mechanism. Railways may act not just as corridors for active movement, but as high speed conduits.
Gotta use his whole name.
Oh, Ricky Ticky Taffy? This contrasts with the typically negative impact of roads, which often function as barriers of significant mortality sinks for snakes. The potential for railways to inadvertently connect populations across otherwise unsuitable habitats represents a novel and underappreciated aspect of human wildlife interaction. Clearly, the movements of these snakes to less suitable habitats has implications for the survival of an already vulnerable species. In addition, their presence on board a train can present a threat to both the snakes and humans on the train. Yeah, obviously. So they seem to be very good at like not imitating,
Well, this article has a keen eye for the obvious.
um, controlling the snake.
Know that the snake presents a threat to people.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just mean unless I'm thinking certain people over in the Near East or the Middle East and how they control the. I think they're controlling the snake. When humans are bitten by king cobras, fatalities can occur within 15 minutes. Yeah. To avoid a bite, humans will also often resort to killing snakes, even when other measures could be taken. Yeah, I mean,
I just avoid it by trying to keep them at a distance.
yeah, they can. They're quite quick, though. Not Black Mamba quick, but let's see. The team notes that the train transport hypothesis is based on correlative and anecdotal evidence, not direct observation of movement to poorly suited habitats. Still, direct observations have been made of snakes being on trains, and mitigating these occurrences can help reduce risks for snakes and humans alike. The study team discusses the importance of snake rescue organizations and the need for public education on these matters. There are usually snake. I mean, there probably are specifically snake rescue programs, but you also have it where people that might focus on other reptiles, like even alligators, might come in and help rescue certain species of snake. So let's see.
Well, we have a bunch of snake catchers over in Florida now.
Um. Well, yeah, that's true. They've probably been there for a while, but definitely the python situation, and it's massively increased. They write by synthesizing existing knowledge. Okay, I think it's just being repetitive. Okay. So we have king cobras traveling places. Quite interesting. Okay, let's see what's going on here. I bet these three are just coming over to snatch up um
Lunch.
or breakfast. I can't tell what time of day it is. There was something odd about the way it let go of the calf. Something about this doesn't seem right.
You think it's fake?
Well, the buffalo seems to be moving at an even pace, and the lions are moving. They're moving much faster, and their paws weren't connecting like at one point with the buffalo,
Let's check comments and see if it says anything.
and then it rolled extremely quick over on its side. And why is it green here and it's brown further over? And then yeah, the hot air balloons. What was that about? But yeah, when you look at the landscape, it's completely different. Um, yeah, I think everything else. Well,
Yeah, somebody else said it.
yeah, it was just something about the hoof. Hmm. But yeah, you look in distance, that's off. And then what's with the tree line? Almost like a crop field somewhere in the Midwest. And
Yeah, that was kind of strange.
so from Forbes.com, meet the bird that can plan for the future. Hint, it uses tools and trades for rewards. Well, there's a lot of different species of bird that will use tools. I mean, parrots, cockatoos. I'd say most birds can probably use tools. Swans. If you're creating a nest, you are in some way, and you're using sticks, even bits of trash, or bits of plastic. You are using it in a specific way, so that is a tool. So most, I guess you could say, yeah, birds can use tools, but yeah, the raven, probably the top, one of the top birds. Many people are quick to assume that planning for tomorrow is a hallmark unique to our species, that only human beings are capable of weighing future outcomes, delaying gratification, and acting with abstract foresight. Well, I'm not sure. I mean, that's probably is true, but if you look at different species of animals, wildebeest, caribou, or reindeer, moose, grizzly bears, polar bears, they all know that the season is going to change, and that this, like, specifically their plant sources or their protein sources are going to become quite limited at some point if they either do not move to a certain region, they don't pack on specifically the weight. I think there was something else I meant to say. So it's definitely not even just the raven. So, this is because many presume the cognitive abilities underlying these behaviors are tightly bound to the evolution of human and great ape brains. However, in recent years, a surprising bird has proven this to be false, the raven. It's interesting that they mentioned apes. I was thinking they were just going to refer to humans only, considering animals like gorillas, chimps, maybe, I'm not sure about chimps over in Western Sub Saharan Africa, like the ones over in Senegal, but definitely the ones further east, like adjacent to like the Uganda or Rwanda regions, so just west of Kenya, they don't usually have to deal with the change in seasons pretty much. In many cases, it might just stay the same climate or same weather patterns. So, however, in recent years, a surprising bird has proven this to be false, the raven. I don't think this is new. Biological research is now showing that these jet black corvids, often the subject of myth and folklore, possess a capacity to plan for future events that rivals and sometimes even outpaces that of humans and other primates. Here's how this discovery is forcing us to rethink what intelligence looks like for birds, as well as what it means to think ahead. The discovery came from a 2017 study published in the journal Science conducted by researchers from Lund University in Sweden. Like, that's kind of not surprising. In a series of controlled trials, the authors of the study tested whether ravens, Corvus corax, could anticipate events that were both out of sight and separated by hours in time? Hmm. Probably. This design made it possible to assess levels of future planning that were once believed to be confined to humans and great apes. The procedure went as follows: ravens were trained to learn how to use a stone tool for unlocking a puzzle, which dispensed a favored food reward. The box was removed after some time, anywhere from 15 minutes to 17 hours later. Wow, that's a difference in time. The birds were given a choice among objects, only one of which was the correct tool. So let's see. Astonishingly, upon returning the box to the ravens, the researchers observed that nearly all of them selected the correct implement and used it successfully to obtain their treat. I wonder if they're grabbing like a piece of meat. This required them to bear a future use for a tool in mind long after the reward was out of immediate reach. So this isn't to be confused with random caching or instinctive hoarding. So caching is referring to gathering, like squirrels cache nuts for the winter. Certain species of squirrels, like that seen in squirrels. The behavior necessitates their anticipation of a highly specific future goal that's separate from the immediate present. After the tool condition, they also tested whether ravens could plan socially. Specifically, they assessed whether they had the foresight to save their rewards to trade them later on for a reward of even higher value. The researchers found that, much like we would set aside money for a possible future benefit, some ravens opted to hold onto their token rather than consume a lesser treat offered immediately. I mean, people have done this with also food for thousands of years. So let's see. They even delayed their gratification, choosing future advantage over instant reward at rates comparable to those of great apes. Okay, well, I mean, I'm expecting this from the ravens. The ravens demonstrated that such impressive flexibility in choosing tokens over immediate food that under certain conditions they outperformed orangutans, bonobos, and chimpanzees on the bartering tasks. Here's why I think that bonobo, comparing them with these
Well, explain what
apes.
a bonobo is.
Oh, um, so a bonobo is basically a smaller, close relative of the chimp. Bonobos are a bit less aggressive, but they can still be aggressive towards people. They're a bit more social and somewhat more friendly to each other than chimps are. But bonobos don't reach much more than, I believe, 80 to 100 pounds or a little over 40 kilograms, whereas chimps can reach somewhere around, I believe, 150. Well, no, I don't know. That's a huge chimp. I think around 130 or a little over 60 kilograms. So this is a bonobo. Bonobos are also, if they're standing on their hind limbs, they're going to be a bit shorter than chimps, and they have less muscle compared to their body size, unlike the chimps. They are still quite arboreal like the chimps, but I'd say a little more so. They are omnivorous, but I believe they're a bit less carnivorous than the chimps are. So I believe they're feeding on different species of insects. So do the chimps, even gorillas, orangutans, but they don't really feed on monkeys as much as chimps do. Yeah, this one looks. I'm not sure if
I
it's
just thought it was funny.
yeah, I'm not sure if it's bored or it's quite relaxed. So I think it's a female, possibly. I don't think it's a real picture. Maybe it's not a female. I can't tell. Sometimes apes are a little more challenging to distinguish. Trying to think. Also, bonobos live separately from chimps. I believe in some areas they're separated by rivers, and neither of them can swim. Yeah, it looks like a happy child. But the reason why it's not surprising, or I don't think it's a good comparison when it comes to comparing something like a raven to these apes, is that these apes don't have to deal with, for the most part, change in weather patterns or a change in the climate somewhat with whereas the raven, it's consistent. So um he has to continuously adapt, and he's also making different symbiotic relationships with different types of animals. The apes don't really do that for the most part. So when it comes to adapting, I mean, they can to a certain extent, but it's just on a completely different level when it comes to the raven. So to us planning is a deceptively simple concept to describe, but in terms of cognition, it's actually remarkably difficult to define. We would typically discuss it in the context of setting goals, delaying gratification, or constructing abstract mental representations of the future. Research on primates has laid the foundation for these different concepts. As a result, planning or foresight has been considered a trait unique to primate and human evolution, but corvids like ravens, crows, and jays have been challenging this notion for quite some time. For instance, earlier research, such as a 2007 study on western scrub jays published in Nature, has shown that some birds are capable of choosing both where and when to cache food. This is also indicative of future anticipation. The Lund experiment expanded this line of equinary by showing that ravens can apply foresight in domains where they have no natural advantage, tools, and bartering, which is a signature of domain general planning. Hmm. Yeah, it definitely takes a lot of brain power. I'm trying to think of which specific areas in the brain also that they are more likely or possibly enlarged than the other ape species, or maybe it's equal to. So, one of the most fascinating science conversations spurred by this research surrounds how different brains can converge on similar cognitive solutions. You know who I am a bit surprised they didn't compare this with? Pigs or wild boars, since they're one of the smartest mammals on Earth, and as well as possibly, actually, I guess I might not be too surprised with wolves or dogs, but maybe even spotted hyenas. They're pretty high in intelligence. You could probably even stick bears. They're quite smart. And who else? I mean, you could probably. I'm not sure how you do it with orcas or dolphins, but they're very intelligent. Let's see who else. I said bears, hyenas, elephants. So that is despite the fact that humans and ravens don't share the same neural architecture, they still show human like planning in these experiments. The idea that foresight is possible in the absence of a layered neocortex is truly intriguing. Also, you even have like beavers, as it suggests that complex decision making isn't strictly tied to one kind of brain or evolutionary path. You also have it where, meerkats, prairie dogs. So evidently, planning can arise from different neural systems.
You say meerkats are violent?
Yeah, they are. I guess ravens a bit less so. It's interesting if they really don't have to fight each other. They won't. However, I think I have seen it. Unless I'm confusing it with crows, one of the species will. They do get into violent conflicts with each other. And what's also interesting is that they don't I don't think they necessarily eat whatever individual of their own kind they took out. Like, let's say, I'm not sure if he was being, like, somewhat a traitor or, um, maybe he was some sort of just bad stranger, but, um, they, I believe, just stand guard by that specific carcass, almost like in respect. Um,
They're protecting their dead.
yeah, um, a lot of respect towards that, but quite, gruesome too. The idea that foresight is possible in the absence of a layered neocortex, so referring to a part of the brain, is truly intriguing, as it suggests that complex decision making isn't strictly tied to one kind of brain or evolutionary path. Evidently, planning can arise from different neural systems, so long as they face similar ecological and social challenges. On the other hand, some researchers even argue that what may look like planning to us could actually be explained by associative learning mechanisms. That is, animals learn to link behaviors with future outcomes through experience rather than explicit mental simulation. But even in this debate, ravens remain central. They provide a critical test case for theories about the mechanisms underlying complex behavior. So let's see. If ravens can exhibit planning behaviors in lab settings, what does that mean for understanding human cognition? Hmm, let's see. Let's see. For one, it forces us to reconsider where the boundary truly lies between human and non-human intelligence. Temporal flexibility, so another part, the temporal lobe part of the brain. The ability to act based on potential future scenarios is a key ingredient in our everyday lives, from saving for retirement to anticipating social outcomes. Although the mechanisms themselves may differ between bird brains and mammalian cortices, the behavioral outcome converges in surprising ways. Future research will push this frontier further by exploring how wild ravens use planning in natural contexts, what neural circuits support these behaviors, whether other non-primate animals share similar capacities. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Ultimately, perhaps the most important lesson we can take from this field of research isn't that ravens are like us, but rather than the capacity to imagine tomorrow may be an integral part of intelligence itself. So, yeah, this was definitely quite interesting, but not necessarily surprising on what they found with the future planning for the Ravens. I mean, many of these individuals are coming from more northern climates, and there's those consistent changes in the seasons, and the apes don't deal with that. And the problem is, and the interesting thing is, you can put the raven. I would think you could put the raven in completely different habitat and, what is it? I guess if it's not too extreme of a climate, and it would be able to kind of watch, like, how the different animals interact or even the different, like, smaller creatures, like, let's say if it's going after rodents, maybe certain insects, and from its experience from its former home, this is already from having experienced, like, whatever, habitat it was formerly in, and do somewhat decently.
You're saying
However,
it'll adapt to it.
yeah. However, I really have a trouble seeing something like a chimp, any of these apes going into completely different habitat, no assistance at all, and being able to eke out a living. I think they would immediately perish.
Well, the rhinos just drop dead, don't they?
What about the rhinos?
When they relocate them sometimes.
Oh, oh, well, I think you're talking about those black rhinos they took from South Africa a couple years back, and they moved to, I believe, some national park over in Chad. And originally, I think they had them quarantined for a short amount of time, but they released them, I think, during also a dry season. And I don't that just doesn't make any sense. I would think you would do that during a time when there's the least amount of stress on the animal, which is usually in that case the wet season and specifically the rhinos. And then the next set, I think they had them in quarantine for a much longer period. I think there was also a bit milder of a wet to dry season, so it was better on the individuals. Um, but that's also, well, that shows how delicate the rhinos are specifically to habitat and weather change. But it's also much closer to like their own type of habitat as opposed to what I'm talking about with exchanging like the chimps or the apes to some part of North America, like let's say Canada, like you're over in some part of Alberta and taking the ravens to one of their areas, maybe a certain part of Senegal or even Rwanda, some part of the Congo, and they could possibly eke a living. Maybe not establish a breeding population, but definitely be
Say
able
they'll
to,
survive.
be able to sustain themselves. So that is quite fascinating how that can occur. Now you could say also the thing is that the apes are having to consume much more food compared to the raven. I mean, the raven only needs a certain amount. However, he still has to be able to obtain that food and also not get eaten in the process. And the same thing goes for the apes. I mean, you have it where the trees here, they're much different texture. It's different from the different trees that they're climbing over in different parts of Senegal or in the Congo because, let's see, you're looking at spruce. They hurt when you're having to climb or manage through, like, spruce firs, at least I'm thinking of specifically spruce firs. I'm thinking of, like, Colorado blue spruce, which you don't really find over in Alberta. You can find different parts of Colorado, Utah, and just my experience with it hurts as well as, like but there's these different pines, so they're also not supplementing the apes with different types of fruits that they need or the different types of insects. It's like what they'll be lucky if they come into contact with certain maybe fawns, which they could take advantage of, just like antelope in different areas or monkeys. The question is, um, well, that's only for a small period of time. And then besides that, they'll have to go after consistently squirrels and rabbits, and you're having to take into account the energy they're having to expand and that is that they don't get taken by a pack of wolves, bears, cougars in the process because, yeah, occasionally they're having to deal with maybe a leopard, the rare instances, maybe a lion, but also maybe members of their own kind, but that's pretty much it. Um, the forests aren't designed in a way in these areas for the or even orangutans to efficiently move through the trees, whereas the something like a cougar or whatever could just immediately take them out. Now, I'd say a chimp would be a bit of a challenge for a cougar, but both animals also have short bursts of just explosive strength. So that would be interesting. But obviously, something like two or three wolves would just tire out the chimp if he was on the ground. Even something like a gorilla would have a bit of a tough time. Now, I think out of all of the populations, maybe chimps over in Senegal might have a somewhat less hard of a time eking a living, and that's because they coexist with more predators compared to the other apes. Maybe there's an area where orangutans, I don't even think at the moment there's an area where the orangutans coexist with animals like tigers. Even tigers don't like going after like fully grown orangutans. They want something that doesn't really fight back too much. But in Senegal, they're dealing with African painted dogs. When it comes to the chimps, you're dealing with hyenas that occasionally go into the region, even lions, but they're usually avoiding the larger predators. And if they're scaring off African painted dogs, that's because there's other chimps along with them. But even a clan, no, I don't think they would make it in any area outside of sub-Saharan Africa. They can't swim, so if it were to come upon like a frozen lake and it falls, that's it. Also, it couldn't really deal with the major change in temperature as well. Now you can say, well, why not southeastern United States? Since Florida, there's snakes everywhere, so there is food available. Um, not including people. There's like a small island, I think, with monkeys or coatis, but they would quickly eat them. And I'm guessing there's a lot of amphibians. The problem
I
is
forget the fact that they're meat eaters.
oh yeah, and yeah, chimps. Pretty much all the population of chimps. Yeah, they're quite voracious when it comes to different species of monkeys. Certain countries they prefer certain species of monkeys over others, maybe because they're a bit more plentiful and maybe easier to catch. So they do coordinate plans, but it would just outside of the area. The problem is animals like chimps and bonobos. They're also marooned in these different areas because a lot of time, if especially if they're bordered by areas of water, which there are many areas, especially in the eastern United States, different parts of Canada, um, they can't swim. I mean, they simply sink into the water. It's not hitting me as to specifically why when it comes to their anatomy, but that's I just thought that we go into the comparison between the two. So,
I got a few more.
oh, okay, let's take a look at another video. Okay, so here it looks like we have a healthy Asian bull elephant over in some part of India. Whoa! Is this an actual fight? Haven't seen this before. Oh, did he lose a tusk? No way. Wow, this is not common to see in India. Oh, somebody it
Uh, oh yeah.
looks like a tusk
Yep.
flew off of the one on the left. Yeah, it looks like he's trying to head for an upper shot. Yep. Ouch. If that was an actual tusk. Whew. Yeah, this is you'll see it even now and then with bush elephants over in Africa. I wouldn't call it too common of a sight though, even because like for the fight to continue and it's very and it's also an entertaining one. But that was really good with what occurred over in India. Okay, so from Yahoo.com. Yellowstone tourist suffers gruesome consequences after getting too close to wild animal. They can run 3 times faster than humans. Let me guess, elk or a bison thing. Yahoo News. So while navigating the trails of a national park, let's see. In 2022, an Ohio tourist visiting Yellowstone National Park suffered severe injuries after approaching a bison. Yellowstone. Okay, let's see. So I recommend you keep at least 25 yards or 65 feet. That seems a bit close though. But this visitor has gotten within 10 feet of the bison in question. Spooked or perhaps angered by her approach, the bison gored her and tossed her 10 feet into the air. Wildlife in Yellowstone National Park. Let's see. Mm, a woman was taken to the Eastern Idaho Regional Medical Center for treatment and survived the confrontation. 2 other park visitors had gotten within 25 yards of the bison as well. I will say though, um, Yellowstone bison seem to be almost like the most, um, I'd say, docile when it comes to people um, crossing the boundaries when it comes to. I'm not sure the terms, not privacy, but just simply space. They might throw you in the air, but or let's say their horn catches you by your clothing. They might throw you, all over the place, but they won't, decimate you. It's quite interesting. However, bison from other places, I'm just referring to Yellowstone only. It's a different story. It's even the same thing with like dogs. Like there was that video from way back. Somebody's pit bull or bulldog ran out of their car and charged these 2 male bison, and one of them just flipped it in the air, and then he just ran back. But it's like that's it. It just they might chase you around a few trees, but they're pretty nice about it.
You want me to put up the next one?
Sure.
Nope.
What?
Oh, I thought you looked at who it was from and went, "No."
Oh no. Thought I saw something. Let's see. WorldAnimalProtection.org. Lion attack in Thailand highlights dangers of keeping wild animals as pets. I'm guessing in one of those pet places or
I didn't read it.
take a selfie with one. So, a viral video of a lion attacking an 11-year-old boy in Thailand has reignited calls for stronger laws to stop wild animals being kept in private homes. The footage shared on TikTok shows the lion get loose from private property in Kanchanaburi province. According to local reports, a 1-year-old lioness broke free from its restraints while its cage was being renovated. Hmm. It ran towards the boy, bit him on the hip, and injured a man who intervened to help. Both were taken to hospital for treatment. Authorities have since seized the lion and are taking legal action against the owner, a social media influencer under Thailand's Wildlife Conservation and Protection Act. The incident is part of a wider problem in Thailand and around the world where wild animals such as lions and tigers are being kept as pets or status symbols without monitored regulation. Let's see. So, while World Animal Protection Thailand has condemned the attack and called for urgent legal reform to end private ownership of
Whoa,
animals,
whoa,
wild
whoa.
animals.
They're condemning the attack, so they're condemning the animal?
Does that mean that they're?
Saying bad?
Oh, yeah.
How do you condemn the animal for doing what the animal does?
Yeah. Um, ah, that's just nuts. The lion escapes biting a baby event is not an accident, but a predicted tragedy, the result of letting wild animals being raised in homes or personal property uncontrolled. Let's see. World Animal Protection urges relevant agencies to pass laws banning tigers, lions, and all kinds of wild animals in private places, except for conservation or research studies under strict animal welfare standards.
Don't we have them here?
Yeah. Let's see.
We Didn't you say it was like 5,000?
10,000.
We have 10,000 giant cats here
I I'm not sure if that's tiger. I think it's tigers alone, not even including lions, leopards.
in Texas.
Yeah.
Mm.
Let's see. On to do. Our wildlife selfie code encourages people to avoid taking or sharing images that involve direct contact with wild animals. Um,
Shouldn't they be doing this for Yellowstone?
yeah. Well, now they've got they're doing something like a project when it comes to wolf communication, the different howls that they create, and they have recorders out there, some type of a device that can hear people's conversations from several thousand feet away. Let's see.
I got another one.
Okay, from CBSNews.com. Australia kills dingoes linked to a death of Canadian woman, sparking backlash. Huh. This is odd for Australia. Australian authorities have sparked a backlash by killing a group of dingoes linked to the death of a young Canadian woman on an island to the country's or in the country's east. The Queensland government said 6 wild dogs were put down after 19-year-old backpacker Piper James' body was found on January 19th. Okay, it seems rather odd for dingoes. Were these like feral dogs and not specifically dingoes? At a beach on the World Heritage listed island on Kagari, the euthanization program has stirred debate about how to manage the local population of dingoes, a sandy colored canine believed to have arrived first in Australia 4,000 to 5,000 years ago. I think more of like 3,500 years ago. An autopsy conducted on James' body found evidence consistent with drowning, but also detected injuries corresponding to dingo bites. Police said her body has been discovered 90 minutes after she went for a morning swim. Let's see. Pre-mortem dingo bite marks are not likely to have caused immediate death, said a spokesperson for the Coroner's Court of Queensland. The coroner's investigation into the cause of death was expected to take several weeks. In response, the Queensland government said a pack of 10 dingoes involved would be euthanized after rangers had observed some aggressive behavior. 6 of the dingoes had already been euthanized, the state's environment minister Andrew Poll told reporters Sunday. Obviously, the operation will continue. So let's see. The traditional owners of Kagari, the Butchula people, said the state's failure to consult with them before euthanizing the dingoes, or Wangari in their language, was unexpected and disappointing. Once again, it feels as though economic priorities are being placed above the voices of the people and traditional owners, which is frustrating and difficult to accept. Yeah, but I don't understand. Do we have somebody was saying that they found evidence for bite marks and then others are stating that it doesn't somebody else stated that it doesn't look like um, the dingoes are what caused the casualty. Wildlife experts said killing the animals was the wrong response and may threaten the island's dingo population, estimated just 70 to 200 animals. Given their small numbers, killing a pack of 10 animals would harm the population's genetic diversity. I think I'm familiar with this island. It might have certain feral dogs occasionally reach the area. There's no moral from the dingo's point of view. They're just being wild animals doing wild things. Usually, at least by what I've heard, they're not attacking people, which is why I think they're feral dogs. Unless this island's far off from any feral dog population over in Australia, but they've got a pretty high feral dog population. Let's see. I mean, you also have where there are those hybrids. Hmm. I'm just seeing if there's anything else. It's being quite redundant. Let's see. Local mayor George Seymour told Nine News the last fatal dingo attack on the island was 25 years ago, and that there had been an escalation of aggressive dingo activity in recent years. Hmm. Okay, I didn't know about this. A big part of what the Rangers do is trying to separate dingoes from humans, but we're continuing to have this situation of dingoes, and in some ways, it's inevitable that there will be a fatality given how many bites and attacks are happening over the years. Okay, so apparently in this area, there's been a lot of attacks, and people are still going here. The government's Ministry of Environment and Tourism issued an alert last month saying that heightened dingo activity has been recorded at several locations along the eastern beach. 3 years ago, a pack of dingoes mauled a 23-year-old jogger in an attack police said was almost fatal. The dogs had driven the woman into the surf before tourists came to her rescue, beating off the dingoes. Police said the man had saved her life. In 2023, two Australian women were fined about $1,500 for taking selfies and videos of themselves posing with dingoes on the island.
I still can't believe people would do that.
Well, it's just odd considering you're having where there are certain dingoes that apparently seem friendly, and then the others are quite aggressive, and that small of a population. I could say they're different individuals, but it still seems a bit odd. Um,
You have to be careful with raccoons, even though they're being friendly,
yeah, and we were talking about
or
like,
even squirrels.
yeah, squirrels, chipmunks. I mean, we were talking about 35-pound or 15-kilogram animals, but this is quite interesting. So, alrighty. So, from thanks for joining. And from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guide Live Daily News. Remember to like, comment, subscribe if you love talking about animals, and share the show with everyone you know. And we will be doing a Saturday show at 12 p.m. And remember that nothing is better than all animals.